want to give you some tips on editing voiceovers, which happens all the time. And Final Cut is really laid out nicely to do that. The first thing I'll almost always do when I'm editing a voiceover is I'll start a brand new project for it. So I'm just going to call this VO Edit. And none of that stuff really matters because the questions that that's asking me is primarily what type of video format do you want, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to hit Command I to import, and then I'm going to grab from my desktop the voiceover. One thing we want to do with this is we want to make it nice and smooth. We want to edit out obvious mistakes, but we also want to tighten it up a little bit so that the video has a little pop to it, has a little rhythm to it, and that's all the editing phase. And then we want to apply some processing that we understand how to do that we've learned in Logic. So I've imported it, I've selected it, I'm going to hit the letter E, and that's going to put it at the end of the timeline, or just in the timeline because there's nothing else there. I'm going to change the display so that all I see is the waveform, and I'll do that over here in the timeline preferences. And I'm going to come at you with a lot of different shortcuts because I believe that using shortcuts and learning how to operate Final Cut Pro with these shortcuts, the time that it takes to learn them is going to pay off in the long run. So the shortcuts that we're going to use are J, K, and L to play and control the playback, I and O to mark in and out points, and the space bar as well as, that plays it as well. And then we're going to use another one called Shift question mark, or another shortcut that is Shift question mark, and that plays around the playhead. So wherever the playhead is, Shift question mark is going to jump back a little bit and then play through and just kind of give you a sense of where the playhead is and what it sounds like there. So again, I'm just going to tighten this script up just a little bit. I'm going to do some of it on the fly. So right out of the gate, I see that there is a gap at the beginning, and I'm going to hit the space bar and then stop, maybe a little further. Again, space bar, and then I'm going to tap O to mark an out point, and then I'm going to hit the backspace delete key to delete that. And that's my objective, is to go through and tighten this up as I work my way through. So space bar, I, O. Okay, so I'm doing that on the fly, and I'm going to hit backspace delete. It's important to also realize that I'm not going to touch the mouse during this process at all. I'm not going to touch the mouse at all. I, O, delete. Okay, then I go, well, maybe I made that a little bit too tight, I call it. Did I edit that together without enough breathing room or without enough phrasing? I'm using the word breathing room to describe that space that a phrase or a sentence might have at the end. So I'm going to hit Shift Q.
We want to be a better person. People who know Laura say, she makes me.
And that was perfect. So
Say, she makes me a better person.
now, because we are the editors, our job is to bring that voice over to the priority, to bring that to the front. And stuff like this, breathing, little clicks that the mouth makes and stuff, those are things that we don't want. And an amateur is going to come in here and not recognize that it's our job to clean up and delete all that stuff. And the amateur is going to share that project with the client, and the client's going to go, okay, thank you. But they're not going to love it because they're going to hear some of these things, or they're not really going to know why they don't love it. And then you're going to work your way up to the level where you're professional, and you're going to see that stuff and you're going to delete it out of there. So again, I marks an endpoint.
Laura has
Oh, by the way, the playhead, I will move my mouse out of the way, it turns out. J goes backwards, space bar pauses. When I hold K and tap L, it moves forward a frame. Let's say I go too far. I hold K and tap J to bounce back a few frames. O. And so I'm going to delete that and hit Shift question mark again.
She makes me a better person. Laura has a caring.
And I decided, well, maybe I want that to extend just a little bit. Let me show you another one. The bracket key is going to select the edit point on either the left or right of the playhead right now. The right bracket selects the end point of the next clip, and then I'm going to use the comma key, or those greater than or less than arrows. Think about the arrow comma key is pointing that direction. I'm going to tap it and extend that just a little bit. Shift question mark.
She makes me a better person. Laura has a caring heart.
And again, I'm going to catch this one too. Tapping, holding K, tapping L, holding K, tapping L. It's important to recognize that when you do hit that out point, you're selecting the frame that follows the playhead. You see how the playhead is parked and there's the yellow line that goes outside it a little bit. These are all things that the more you use it, the more you know it. And again, I'm going to go all the way down the voiceover and I'm going to tighten it up just like that. And that is how you edit a voiceover. As I glance across this, I already see all the points where I need to trim it up and tighten it up. And as I'm working through it, I might also find just blatant mistakes that need to be cleaned up as well. And that's a really basic editing voiceover tip package. Lots of shortcuts, lots to do. Make yourself learn those shortcuts. Learn how to play this particular instrument like a musical instrument. All right.